All right.
Alrighty.
Welcome to TMC Live. This is episode 8. I'm joined once again by Nystrik and Alikchi. This week,
Hello.
we're going to be talking
I
a little bit about the Rhea Devblog, and by a little bit, I mean almost the entire show is going to be about this massive devblog. First, though, we are going to follow up with a couple of questions that came in late on episode 7, towards the end of the episode, I believe. We were talking a lot about the Phoebe changes, and in particular jump fatigue. Somebody asked in reference to that, does this make Titans useless now? By extension, does this make industry characters that build Titans useless? Real quick, let's just get this follow-up out of the way. What do you guys think?
In general,
if
probably not.
yeah, if anything, the recent battle between PL and Hero at F4R2 proved that because Pandemic Legion was able to bring in Titans and absolutely demolish a Hero cap fleet. They are still very powerful tools, just like all the other capital class ships. They've just been reduced from galactic tools to regional tools, I think. And Titans have a lot of utility, even just as boosters, that makes them
Yeah.
pretty integral to big fleet fights with a lot at stake. So I don't think we'll be seeing Titans, mothballed anytime soon. Apart from the
Yeah.
fact that they're no fun to fly and people quit as soon as they have them.
Yeah, I think Titans will always be important, even if it's just as something that flings your subcaps halfway across space.
Right.
So I don't think they'll ever become completely useless. I understand the thought, though, like how realistic is it really to send a fleet of Titans to a place with very little chance of being able to get them back when you want to, because jump fatigue is a weird thing and you have to do a lot of calculations before you send your fleet out and be really careful. But I think I agree that you'll see it'll just be regional, and that's kind of the whole Phoebe thing, is regional conflict.
Yes.
The other thought that I had is obviously I'm no expert when it comes to Titans. I've never flown a Titan. I've never had a Titan character, anything like that. I'm not an expert on a lot of things, but I get by looking at what people who are experts are doing in the field. There was no mass like Titan sell-off
Right.
prior to Phoebe, so there's no sales of Titan characters more than usual, anything like that. So I think you can kind of gather from that the fact that things aren't so bad. Like jump
Yeah.
fatigue's a thing. Obviously, it does make things a little bit more regional, but there's still a very unique role that Titans can play,
Yeah.
and that's just not going to get replaced or obsolete anytime soon.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, we know Titan players can be very vocal. The last time there was a big nerf when they took away subcap blapping with high scan res and target painter boosts and all that. There were huge storms of threads on the official forums of Titan players saying, I played this game for 5 years, I'm going to quit now. And pretty sure that even they can recognize that this is not something worth complaining about. Titans will still have utility.
So there you go. There's your weekly follow-up from last episode. And with that really smooth segue out of the way, we're going to start on the news. And obviously the news this week is dominated by this Rhea Devblog.
Yes.
Lots of stuff to sink into here. I'll start this off by asking a question.
Okay.
What are you most interested in out of all of this, Nystrik?
Oh god. Of course you'd single me out first.
Of course.
I think I'm still most excited for Thera. Just because now that there's a little bit more on the table for what exactly Thera is and how it's going to operate, I have a little bit more understanding of the whole thing. And even though I agree to what we talked about last week about how a single pilot using Thera as a spot or a place to go from to do PvPs is very, not practical. They've done a lot of things to make it so that one person, like one alliance, cannot hold it without a lot of effort put into it.
Right.
So I'm back to being excited for that. I was also excited about manual controlled ships, but
I don't know. Manual control is something that I can't see actually using it. Having gotten used to the way that Eve plays now, I can't see myself like, wow, I was never this good at PvP before. Now I can fucking
Yeah.
WASD around space. Like I don't really see that as a. It's nifty. Like it's a nice little.
It's nifty. That's exactly what it is.
You know, like
I
it's-
imagine it's going to be used by very new players and the very elite players, and by almost no one in between, except when they're dicking around.
Do you think elite players will use this? Do you think it'll
I
be?
do.
Maybe-
In 1v1 PvP, I absolutely do.
Yeah.
Well, even that, but like if you are some pro, and this is beyond me because I'm far from an Eve pro, maybe you can tweak your transversal just the way you want. Maybe you will appreciate that kind of fine-tuned control, but I don't know. It's another set of things to do with your hands in Eve PvP, and that is not good, I think, in general.
Because yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on, but at the same time, if you were able to master the WASD controls in such a way
Right.
that you didn't have to now click in fucking space everywhere,
Yeah.
or manage, you know, your, what is it? Keep range at
Overvoy.
and
Yeah.
and orbit, you know,
Yep, all
whatever
that
you want to
stuff.
do there, whatever your preferred method is. Like, if you take that away, all of a sudden there's actually a lot less to do on the screen. There's a lot less to manage. Then you're just targeting people and kind of going to town.
Yeah.
I just can't really see, having done a fair amount of 1v1 small game kind of PvP in the past, I can't really see getting. I can't imagine that it's precise enough.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that it's responsive
And there's
enough.
going to be some lag. Yeah, responsiveness is my key, because even the way things are now, you double click in space and 2 seconds later you're flying in that direction, right?
Yep.
It's going to feel weird.
My biggest issue with the manual controlled ship, so I fly Rifters, I like to fly small ships. I enjoy being kind of in the thick of battle, you know, figuring out what's going on, either bubbling or tackling, things like that. That's what I enjoy. And I thought, oh man, manually controlled ships, that'll be really cool. I'll be able to do so many cool things in the middle of a fight. And then I was like, wait, tie-dye is still a thing. No, I won't.
I didn't even think about
Yeah.
that.
In a big fight, there's
Yeah.
still, like, tie-dye. It's never gonna, I'm gonna be like, D.
You're holding
and it's gonna
down
be like,
W.
hold on. Okay, there you go. Like, that's not gonna be helpful. Orbiting, just clicking a button and clicking orbit at range is just going to be the way to do it in a larger scale battle, because tie-dye does not make WASD possible.
Yeah, I mean, you
It
got to
just
think about it
doesn't.
like in massive tie-dye, like you're going to be holding down the D key for
Ever.
10 times as long as you would just to get the smallest little response in your ship. So
I don't
yeah, I
think
didn't even
it'll
think about
ever
that.
be practical, but it's a cool thing that they added. You know, they can at least say, hey, you could do that if you want, but it's not really useful within the game world.
It's super
You know,
cool. I mean,
Just
yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. I mean, like, did you guys? I know I'm kind of dropping this on you at the last minute. Did you happen to see Johnny Pugh's video? I think it just went up earlier today.
I did
Not
not
yet.
of Thera or the WSD.
The WSD controls. It was soft. It looks very soft. Looks very loose, kind of.
Sluggish.
Yeah, a
that's
bit.
unfortunate.
And the funniest part of it is that the engine trails, like, they don't correspond to where you're
that's
going.
No
Oh, yeah?
So so if this is your ship and then like this is your engine trail, when you turn, your engine trail moves too, like
Nice.
really weirdly. It looks bizarre. It's really dumb. Like,
That's unfortunate.
hopefully they can get another pass or two in there before the patch
I'm sure.
comes. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just a graphics rendering thing, anyways.
Yeah.
What about you, Alikchi? What are you happy about out of this dev blog? What are you looking forward to?
Well, obviously, Thera and all the, I guess they're calling them the shattered wormholes. I think that they'll be fun to tool around in. I'm unironically interested in some of the lore and the story that they're going with this. I know. I have problems. I'm very sorry. But I'm genuinely intrigued by what they're building towards here. I'd like to explore some of these systems. I think that the ones that aren't Thera will be fun playgrounds all on their own. with wormhole mechanics and ice belts and stuff like that. I think the thing that'll affect me personally is what they called the tug. I'm trying to remember what it's actually called now. The bowhead. Yeah, bowhead.
Yes.
So when I log into EVE, which hasn't been that often, but more often lately, when I did, probably the thing I did most was high-sec suicide ganking. And the mothership for that is the Orca right now. You can load up maybe 10 or 15 catalyst holes, all your mods, and take it from one hunting ground to another, then use the same pilot as your scout, your spotter, your warp in, whatever you need. But it's time-consuming, it's slow, you can't actually move that much. Like a day of ganking, I might use 40 catalysts. So the bowhead, something with enough SMA or SBA space to carry, 3 fitted battleships. That's a lot of storage space. It means that I'll be able to move from hunting ground to hunting ground pretty effectively. And I think it'll be a fun target for ganking in the future as well, because, incursion runners are going to have their blinged out nightmares and whatnot in it. So I'm excited to see that. It's probably the most benign change, but it'll have the greatest impact on my daily life as a player, I think.
I was going to say, those are, shattered wormholes, cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
But the other things you're excited about are the lore and a new kind of freighter.
Yeah.
How boring of a pilot could you possibly be in EVE Online?
I can see why the bowhead seems, or bow, I don't know which.
It has a lot of utility to me
vote.
Personally.
We need to vote on how to pronounce this stupid ship.
Or we can
say bowhead.
Okay.
I say bowhead. Comes down to Nystrik.
I'm pretty sure it's bowhead. I don't know though, but I think it's interesting. I think that it's a cool idea. I guess I didn't understand really the full use of it because unlike Alikchi, I don't go around looking for people to suicide gank really. I've never tried it. I never thought to really try it. So I guess that's when you put it that way, that's actually really cool and makes me want to try it. Too bad I have no skills at all for it.
That's why I suicide gank. No skill required.
Yeah, just pop it.
Yeah.
It's just there for flying. The ships are what actually do the killing.
The ships in suicide ganking are like tools. They're like bombs that you throw at something, basically. Don't get attached to them. Yeah. It's a very mechanical way of PvP. I like it, but then I also like the lore, apparently.
I don't know about you, but I get really upset every time I go ganking somebody and I don't bring my ship back.
I know.
I don't.
I've heard a lot of stories about people being able to, or not being able to, bring their ships back after they suicide gank people. I don't understand even the term of suicide ganking.
Yeah, it's
always
something
bring my
CCP needs
back.
to look into.
Yeah, I don't know. Y'all need to pick up your game.
I mean, I fly Rifters, so I never expect to come home, literally ever.
Concord or hackers, ban Concord.
Ban Concord immediately. So the thing that I'm actually really excited about is also the shattered wormholes. Not so much Thera, actually. The more that I read about it and then saw some first impressions from people that went on the test server, I'm not convinced that the measures they've put into place will keep that from being dominated by an alliance. I know you can't anchor wormhole, or you can't anchor bubbles, but that was never going to be a thing anyways, because wormholes will always be moving. You'll still roll the wormholes. They'll be in different spots. So that was never really going to be too much of a thing. I know they restricted, so it's confirmed it's sub-cap only, so you can't bring any caps. And they got ice belts or whatever. They've got some other stuff in Thera, and the system's really big, and there's 4 different stations and all this stuff.
It's massive. It is 342 AU between stations. That's not even between entrances in the wormhole. That's a massive amount of space.
I still don't really see how that... big enough allowance. Let's throw this out here.
I can't even warp half that.
Let's
your
throw
Rifter?
In my Rifter. I can't.
What's the fucking skill? I used to know the skill name that you need to
trained.
train.
I still couldn't warp that far. There's no system in EVE that is that big, and the one that is close to it, I can make it most of the way.
What's the system that's close to it?
We used to
like
have to travel
Star
through it
or
all the
something?
time when Test was deployed, and I can't for the life of me remember what it is now.
There's a couple that are like well
There's a
over
couple that are
100.
large, yeah. There are a couple that are very large. And we used to have to when Test was deployed further north-ish, we had to jump through 2 of them, which sucked. But yeah, so I mean, I get where you're coming from, though. It is a
9-2
system.
in Venal.
Yes, thank you.
Anyways, I'm just not convinced. Like, I think there's organizations large enough in the game that won't be as impactful as I think maybe CCP hopes.
Mm-hmm.
If people want to invest in taking over that space, they're gonna take over that space.
I have a question for you. Like, what measures do you think CCP could or should take if they wanted to, let's say, mitigate the ability of big alliances, big groups of players to control a Thera-style wormhole or shattered place?
This
I don't think
is
there's anything they can do.
this is where I completely bitch out and say I am not a game designer. It is not my job to solve these problems.
Well, I mean, look at it this way. EVE is a sandbox MMO. The point of it is that they put a change in, see what happens, see if it needs to be fixed. And there's not really anything that they can put in without people being like, you know, this is not where you're supposed to, you know, this isn't really what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to leave it to us.
Right.
So that would make people mad. I mean, the only thing I think that they might be able to do is limit the amount of people per an alliance or corp that can enter the wormhole.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like the only thing I could see them
That's
maybe
so arbitrary,
doing.
though.
But that would be that would
That's
be
the
very
thing,
arbitrary.
though.
It wouldn't be a good idea.
That's the thing, though, is like there's tons of stuff you can do that's all completely arbitrary and totally like game breaking, immersion breaking, all that kind of stuff. Is there anything that they should do? Probably not. Like I think they're just being naive in saying that they're taking measures to prevent it. Like, this is going to happen if players want it to happen.
Right.
In this game, that's kind of the way things generally go until you start nerfing the hell out of suicide ganking for 3 years straight, and then suicide ganks don't happen quite as often. So it's not Thera, it's actually the shattered wormholes. Like, so they actually have like small ship-sized wormholes now, like, or they're going to, and that is super cool. Like, I can't wait for that stuff. It's going to be a little weird because I guess you just always have to have a prober alt around to do that kind of stuff. You can't really get a small ship that can do a lot of things. I forget the size restriction, though, that they were going to put on those. I thought it was really small ships. Am I wrong in saying that?
I don't think so.
I think it's below cruisers.
Below cruisers? Yeah. So I don't think there's too many options there aside from like having a prober alt or having a buddy in a prober. But I'm really excited. Like, I think those are going to be fun little playgrounds that maybe Thera was intended to kind of occupy that space of having these free-for-all kind of very restricted size, like faction warfare plexes, but just roaming around in space that you can probe down and go jump into, and then you have, you know, all the stuff that comes along with being in nullsec, so, you know, dictors can do their thing and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's another step towards what RVB was trying to do, what Brave was trying to do for a while, sort of World of Tanks style arena fights. Like, this is a perfect combat zone. You show up here, you limit your engagements so you aren't like crushed by a Myrmidon's Hammerhead 2s or whatever.
Right.
You go in and so you have some kind of a chance at a fair fight within the sandbox, limits.
Yeah. I think it's I think most of these changes are really good. Like overall, I didn't really see anything that jumped out at me as too negative. The other thing that I'm surprised Alikchi didn't mention this, at least, is the Confessor, the Tech 3 destroyer.
Yes,
is coming, and it's going to be amazing. It's got this new game mode where you can switch between kiting and sniping and tanking, and it's like all of that. It's all
like
what
you do
the
with
fuck
Archons?
you just did. What?
Where you can siege and not siege, like with an Archon or other.
Yeah, but this is a
such
Tech 3
capital?
destroyer.
Yeah, woo.
And it looks like nail clippers from hell.
It does look.
That
That's
was not the first
exactly
analogy
what it
you
looks
stated.
like.
That is not what I said.
Sir.
No, but this is more palatable.
Okay. I just want to
That
make
is-
that clear.
I was trying to put my finger on what that damn ship looked like, and it does look like nail clippers.
I also heard curling iron, which I thought
Yeah.
looked fairly to my
I could see
uneducated
it.
eyes, it looks a lot like a curling iron.
It does actually a little bit, yeah.
Well, I assume what we're
so-
seeing is just one of its 3 states, which are, I believe, kiting, tactical...
do you think it's actually going to move? Like when it...
Yeah. No, there's going to be animations for it
Really?
to change into a different physical look. Yeah,
It's going to be a fucking transformer?
pretty much.
Transformers in space. We're done,
Yeah.
folks. I guess Transformers. come from
Transformers in space, WASD controls, we're out.
We're done.
That's it. It's just no more
Game's
development.
perfect.
Done.
Drop mic, walk off stage.
What about the UI overhaul? Either of
I'm
you?
a huge fan. I think it looks so nice, and you guys are gonna call me a complete fucking noob for this. Ready for this? So, I look at my sidebar, and it has all the little icons, you know, for your market, your map, and your whatever. And I always struggle to find my money, my wallet. I can never.
That's like the most obvious one on the bar.
Yeah, I know.
It looks
The-
like money.
Green for money.
That one and the market one always get me. Because I always flip them. I always forget which one is which, so I always end up flipping them, which is awful. So I hate like the current icons. I think that they're awful and arbitrary for the most part. Like the map is like, well, obviously it's a fucking map, so it's not too bad. But some of them I'm like, what is this? Is this why does this represent fleets, or why does this represent, like, I don't know. So I was looking through the new icons, and I like the new icons. I think they're more streamlined. I think they look nicer. I also think that yes, I click the icons, get over it. I don't know the
I was gonna say,
shortcuts.
like, I
I
don't
don't know
know
the
why
shortcuts.
anybody's ever confused by the UI, because I just, as with most things in Eve, I don't actually look at what I'm doing. I just have everything. I have all the shortcuts memorized.
I don't.
So I just instantly go wherever I want. It's like being in the Matrix. Like, just symbols float down, basically, from the top of the screen, and I just play Eve that way.
I also
It's all
am
muscle memory.
Yeah.
I'm also really a huge fan of the blue backgrounds to the
That
the
does
pages,
genuinely look good.
and it genuinely looks good. And on top of that, I wouldn't always struggle. There were some systems where you'd be in a system and you'd be trying to read a page, and the system background would blend into the page you're trying to read, and you'd have to turn off the transparency or turn it on or whatever and fix it. And even still, I kind of am a new bro to Eve in some ways. Someone asked that in chat. I've been playing for 3 years, but I've never evolved really past Rifters. But I really do like the UI changes. I think they're really good.
The ones on the UI that I always got mixed up were assets and inventory are two different fucking things.
God.
Fuck you. I've never clicked on the right button the first time ever in my life. It doesn't matter what I'm trying to do. I've never managed that feat, which is really annoying. What else is coming in this Devblog? What else is there? Anything?
What are sleeper scout drones in K-Space? Alikchi put what is this? I think.
No, that was me.
Is that you?
I read through the Devblog, and so apparently, let me make sure I got this right. Sleeper scout drones are going to be in known space.
Yes.
Yes. They are going to be high
And that's fucking
tier. Yeah. They're
Yeah,
going
like,
to be
what is
like
that?
special enemies, basically, like a roaming PvE content is the impression that I've gotten. With all the new AI stuff that they've been working on for the burner missions and so on. So, I don't know, maybe they'll drop something really rare and expensive and probably related to the lore somehow. It's kind of a neat idea. I don't know exactly how you would... I guess it's kind of like bounty hunting an NPC.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's different.
Yeah.
It's interesting in that way. I don't really know how useful this is, though. The one other thing, though, that I did want to mention is all the ship redesigns.
Oh my God, they all look
Yes.
so nice.
Particularly the Incursus. So, like, when I heard they were redesigning the Incursus, I love the Incursus. I think the Incursus looks pretty great.
Yeah.
And then I saw
And
the
they took
redesign, and
away
I'm
our
like, wow.
jousting lance.
Yeah, like you got giant land. Like you go poke people with it. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then I saw the redesign. I'm like, wow, the old Incursus actually does look pretty fucking old and dated. Now
Yep.
that you mention it, CCP. Thanks for updating
I noticed it last time they redid a lot of the skins on ships, and like made the lighting a little nicer and made the colors a little bolder, and stuff like that. I did, even back then I noticed. I was like, wow, some of these ships really did look like crap.
Yeah.
Even though I thought they were beautiful before the reskins, and then like especially specifically with the Mars ships, that especially now are going to look so nice with the way that if you like turning into the sun, it's like you get this nice glimmer off the side of your ship, and I was like, wow, that's so nice. I kind of lost it a little bit.
Well, it's impressive because like one of the, I don't want to say few things, but like what's impressive is that Eve has always been a visually appealing game. Like
Yes.
it's always been pretty good looking.
They've kept it up to date generally.
You don't realize how ugly it is until they update it and make it
Yep.
nicer looking, and then you're like, wow, yeah, that was actually pretty shitty looking. It just continues to impress me, the work that they're able to do on that. I mean, it's a 10-year-old game, but it doesn't look like it at all. Like
It does not.
They've really kept up. The other thing along those lines that they started doing, or that they're going to do, is the dust effects in asteroid belts.
Oh yes, those look great.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the dead game that no longer exists. My bad. Sorry. I thought we were talking.
Don't worry.
I was
We'll
like,
never
why
talk
are we
about
talking
that, I
about
promise.
this? Yeah, I was like, why are we talking about this shitty game that is dead? Sorry about that. I legitimately thought we were talking about. I was like, why is this? Okay, sorry.
I'm really happy I didn't have to say that.
You're really
But
happy that
the
you didn't
dust
have to make.
effects in the asteroid belt, they look great from
Yeah,
the
they
one
do.
screenshot that they've released so far. But it looks genuinely good. It reminds me of the Elite Dangerous asteroid fields, which look like they extend into infinity. It's mind-boggling. But asteroid fields are some of the most boring places to be in EVE Online, which is a pretty impressive feat as far as it goes. So classing it up a little bit makes more of a difference than I think we would expect just at face value.
I think it's
Speak louder, Alikchi.
Oh, okay.
I like too quiet. I was like, why didn't? Okay. I think as far as like the you're talking about like the skin updates and the Eve UI overhaul and things like that. Them updating the look of the game to remind us, I guess, that it is a modern game and that it's supposed to look nice. I think that it's interesting that you brought up the point of we don't really notice that Eve is getting old until they update it, and you're like, whoa, suddenly a huge change. And it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that because everyone always compliments other companies on being so good at that, specifically Blizzard, but people have been crying at Blizzard for years to update
Oh yeah,
the hell out of World of Warcraft. And
it took them 10 years.
And it took
Yeah.
them 10 whole years to finally say, you know what, this is probably a good idea. We should probably maybe do this. So, I mean, I give CCP a huge thumbs up for being ahead of the game when it comes to keeping their game looking sharp and nice and crisp, and good job to them.
Yeah.
Also-
I think that. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that CCP can get away with it though. Blizzard, they have a lot of financial incentives to go, hey, like 20% of our player base won't understand why the game that they've been playing on their laptop from 2002 they can't play
Certainly.
anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Eve players, statistically tend to have money, tend to be professionals, tend to
They
be
do.
nerds in their 30s who know what they're
Who
doing.
build their own computers with like
Yeah.
a new graphics card comes out and they're like, oh shit, it's out, time to buy it. And I'm like, it's been out for like a week. You don't need it.
Don't tell me what I don't need.
Wow.
Why are you insulting me on the stream? Jeez.
Shit's
I'm not
getting
even-
real.
Did you do that?
No.
Did you? I didn't even know you did that. You totally came out and made it a personal thing. That wasn't my intention.
It's fine.
It's fine.
We don't have to be friends. We just have to be on the show once a week.
That's fine.
Don't make eye contact.
Wow. All right.
So the other things that they've updated was they updated the look of the Blackbird and the Rook and Falcon as a result. It looks really solid. I like that they're making the second pass, and obviously they've redesigned other ships.
Hmm.
But it does seem like every time they redesign ships, there's a Caldari ship being redesigned as well.
Yep.
Yes.
Is that just tacit, like, admittingly that Caldari ships have always been the most hideous things possible?
Yeah.
They're so disgusting.
Well, they always
They're
try to make
awful.
them busier. They always do. The Blackbird looks 10 times busier. It has must have like 7 more angles and flaps to it. It's
Looks
it's a
cool,
step
though.
forward. It looks cool. It looks
It
very
looks better.
It looks cooler than, like,
Cyberpunky.
the semi-squashed box that it was before.
Yes.
But I kind of like that aesthetic though. Like the rock. The
Fucking
rock
weird.
is intimidating because
Listen,
it's a fucking rectangle.
You're also really excited by a fucking freighter, so...
And story.
And lore.
Yeah.
I could be
We're just
excited
shitting
about
on. That's
one.
we gotta stop.
I have feelings.
They're also putting out special edition skins for dreadnoughts now, which is cool.
Yes.
It's cool. I didn't like the
I
way that
guess.
some of them looked. I think
Some of
it's
them look
cool
like
that they're-
hot rods.
Oh, yeah, one of them
They're
I was like, that's
supposed
either
to.
I was
Yeah.
like, that's either a Hot Wheel or a Bumblebee.
It's amazing.
I don't know which.
I'm into that. I'm into that.
They all look wonderful and American.
It's a little,
very
it's a little
true.
too colorful for like. I like that the that Amar ships are usually gold or some sort of bronze-ish, goldish color. I like that the Minmatar ships look exactly like what they're supposed to. They look like scraps of metal put together. Kaldara ships look like ass, and that's okay because that's their thing, and everyone looks that for being their thing. Like I like the distinct aspects of it, so I'm gonna look at like some of the ships that they're giving new skins to. I'm gonna be like, what is that a Hot Wheel or is it a
It should
flag?
be- This is one of the things though where I kind of wonder why they didn't do capital ship skins first.
Yeah.
Because there's so much more real estate. You can actually spot when a dreadnought looks different
Mhm.
on an undock. Like some of the skins that they've put out, like for, the Rifter, I think in particular, it just looks. It's a fucking Rifter. Like, what do you want? And you're probably not going to actually look at a Rifter in space.
You're gonna
ever.
be-
I don't even
out,
see
yeah.
my own Rifter in space. That's
Right.
how zoomed out I usually am.
So,
So why is the skin going to matter on my ship that's literally this big on my screen?
Yeah, we should be getting Erebuses with like flame decals and spoilers
Oh.
and all sorts of shit on them.
super cool. I'd buy one.
Mud
Nope.
flaps.
Nope. Nope.
Mud flaps would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because it gets muddy in space.
I
so
want
they-
my Erebus to have Calvin pissing on an avatar on the back.
So I think one more thing left on this list is trial account names. Old trial account names are being freed up in this next patch. This is restricted, of course, to people who have only ever played the trial account and are I don't think they specified how old. They might have. But they're old accounts, trial accounts only, never subscribed. So if you, anybody watching or listening, ever made a bunch of trial accounts to get all the really great names, like
You might want to do something with them.
you should probably
like
do
now.
something. Yeah. I mean,
You've got like 3 weeks.
anime Weed Lord Skrillex may be taken, but
I got that shit on lockdown.
I'm sorry, anime what?
Anime Weed Lord Skrillex.
That's right.
It's a good name.
Wow,
It's the best
more than a
name.
year old. Someone in chat says trial accounts more than a year old that have not been subbed.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, if you
That's reasonable.
if you made a bunch of trial accounts back in like 2011, because
You're-
that's when a lot of
yeah.
new players were coming in, player base was really growing. You wanted to make sure that you got your favorite names locked up. You need to do something about that.
Your
yeah.
XX420 no scope is gone on
Here's
December
looking
Not
9th.
yet.
at you,
There's
Admiral
still time
Thrawn,
to subscribe.
69,
That's what I
69,
said, on
69.
December 9th. Yes. That was Derherter's name on Steam for a very long time.
Why
And
does
it
that
was-
not surprise anybody?
Nope, not even a little bit.
I think that about does it for the dev blog. That took us through like a good 40 minutes of
It was
Yeah,
a long dev blog.
updates.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to more specifics on some of these things. I'm
Me too.
hoping that they do a couple more passes on some of these things, but in general, really nothing jumps out to me as negative about this. It all looks really great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually personally really excited to play Eve again for the first time in 2 years.
That's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
That's I don't know if I'd say I'm excited to play Eve. But
You're
I'm definitely
intrigued,
going.
maybe?
I'm definitely intrigued. I will probably resub to give it a try, and then we'll see how that goes.
That's a good indicator of some success though on CCP's
Yes.
part.
Yeah.
I mean,
It is.
it's hard to get jaded, bitter old vets, even the new ones, to resub to the game. It really is like you kind of get your fill of it, and then you move on, and you just keep up with your friends that you made in Eve, and then that's it. So the fact that I think it's going to encourage people to actually log in and play again, which is kind of mind blowing in its own way.
They will have at least a month of people resubbing to go, what is this?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something.
And a lot will have changed considering how the pace of the development cycle is going. For
Yes.
somebody who like keyed out at, let's say, Incarna or at Apocrypha or Crucible, they are going to see a shitload of changes. And that's really the key for CCP at this point, because they've been exposed and available and had their marketing campaigns going for what, nearly 11 years now? There aren't that many people who haven't heard of Eve at this point. It's about drawing in the people who have given it a chance already. And that's not easy.
Well, speaking of 10-year-old games that are trying to get people to play them again, BlizzCon happened since the last episode. We did get a little bit of BlizzCon stuff into the last episode because it was the first day that it had happened. So we already know about Overwatch. Pretty much we know everything there is to know about Overwatch because there's not a lot.
There's not.
We also got Heroes of the Storm updates. So the beta is coming right around the corner, right?
The beta starts January 13th. Was it 13th? It's either the 12th, 13th, or 15th. It's within that 3-day stretch there. For some reason, I didn't write down the
Super
specific date.
I love that we are on point with this.
I think it might be
Got
the
it all
13th.
nailed down.
Which is exciting because it's been in alpha for 8 months, which is with the way games have been going lately. An 8-month alpha is a very long alpha. I feel like.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
I also think that might just be a side effect of the fact that they opened the alpha really early. Like
They did.
most companies would not have opened the alpha at the point that they did. So you kind of you get both things. I mean, it's push and pull on that point.
But in addition to the beta finally opening, which means new rounds of invites, which I wanted it. Blizzard, I've been playing your game since I was like 8. Can I have an invite, please? Can I have a beta key? Thanks. There are new maps. I'm really excited about the new maps, and I mean, Blizzard's art team never ceases to impress people. Their maps look phenomenal, and I love that they're bringing in classic Blizzard games into their map making. They have a Diablo-inspired
I saw that.
map.
That
It
looks really
That's
great.
cool.
Beautiful. I would be really excited to see a StarCraft 2 specific race designed maps. I'd love to see a Zerg map. I'd love to see a
that'd be
Protoss
amazing.
map. I'd love to see a Terran map. I think that would be so nice. And in addition to that, they've also got a few new champions out. They've got Sylvanas, Thrall, Jaina, the little Lost Viking dudes. Jaina Proudmoore.
Yeah, I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
okay,
I'm
you made a
I'm
face
keeping track
like-
of how many of these are WoW characters and how many aren't.
Three are WoW characters, one is not.
Okay.
Those are the 4 that they showed us in their posts. There's a possibility that they released more at BlizzCon itself, but unfortunately I was not privy to any of that information because I was not there. And then on top of all that, we have draft and ranked queues being introduced, or at least being talked about in the game. So they're doing the classic MMO thing. You can queue up as a solo person. You can queue up as a 5s team. You can get into draft mode and ban the overpowered heroes or champions or whatever it is that, I imagine they're heroes.
Heroes,
Called Heroes
yeah.
of the Storm. The specific OP heroes that get released, because it always happens where one is just a little too overpowered. We all know Blizzard's amazing track record with balance. They're wonderful at it. No,
they're not. They're not real good with that.
No, they're not. But I think the point that I wanted to emphasize about BlizzCon is that BlizzCon kind of reminds us how, I guess, how important Blizzard as a company itself is. Hearthstone obviously launched not too long ago, and now Heroes of the Storm is going into beta. And these two games have the potential to throw Blizzard back at the forefront of the esports scene. StarCraft 2 was at the front of it for a very long time. And when Dota and League of Legends got popular, StarCraft 2 very much fell off, and lost kind of its stature as the top dog in the esports world, which is unfortunate because StarCraft 2 was originally what brought me to esports. It's the first game of that nature that I really enjoyed. And seeing it fall off over the last, I guess, 2.5, 3 years has been sad. Watching a League of Legends stream or a Dota stream where you see at least like 90,000 people watching an esports event, and then I switched to a StarCraft 2 streamed event. They have so many tournaments, and maybe 50,000, maybe 60. So that number, that disparity is huge. League of Legends and Dota are usually looking at least double what a StarCraft 2 tournament gets.
On that note, though, the StarCraft tournament at BlizzCon was on Twitch and broke over
huge.
I mean, it broke some kind of records for a StarCraft stream, I guess.
Yeah.
I actually found myself watching it, and I don't play StarCraft. Like, I haven't played StarCraft since high school a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, I have not played StarCraft for a while, and I have not played StarCraft 2 at all. I'm not big into esports. Like, I'm not like the typical viewer of this thing at all. And yet, I found myself keep clicking over back to the StarCraft tournament. I don't know what was so compelling about it. They also had Hearthstone tournaments and WoW arena tournaments or whatever.
Which I was not as enticed personally to go back to and watch, but the StarCraft 2 tournament, definitely I was hyped. Like, I was football game hyped.
I think that's the key. That's one of those things where even if you aren't like a player of the sport, even if there's enough depth and complexity to hockey or football or StarCraft 2 that you can watch it and be sort of entranced by the depth and the skill.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things, is because like the commentators weren't great, so they didn't do a good job of like as an introductory, like if somebody hasn't played a lot of StarCraft in the past. A lot of that shit was going over my head at first, but you kind of just you catch on like as you watch.
Things start to make sense.
Yeah, they started to make sense, but they were still saying like all these obscure builds. I couldn't even repeat it if I had to. Yeah. But they're like this into this into this, but he's not doing that. He's gonna do this, and this is crazy. But there is something really compelling about having something that is that deep. That there is obviously a lot of stuff going on. They're making decisions very early in these games. I don't know what those decisions are, but they're making decisions, and like the game's on the line here, and it was entertaining to watch. I also think it helped that it's fast.
It is. There's parts of it that are definitely very stagnant, but StarCraft 2 is definitely a very fast-paced game, especially kind of near the early shift into the mid game. Because the early game is just you're scouting, you're looking around, making sure that what you're building is the right idea. But that's intense because if you suddenly jump something into someone's base and oh shit, they're doing a rush. They're on their way to my base now, and I literally have no units because I fast expanded. Oh God, what do I do?
See, I only understood like about
half of that. Yeah,
3/4. I'm okay, but there's still like there's a fastness to it, even in the scouting phase. Like you're micromanaging that one scout over there, and you have to be very fast. The thing that they haven't done with Heroes of the Storm or Hearthstone, or it looks like Overwatch, because Overwatch does look a hair slower than what you might be used to. Nothing's very fast. None of their
Yes.
new stuff is very fast, and
Even Heroes of the Storm, watching people play it, I think is very slow. I
it's
think
like
the
watching
game
baseball
looks
to an
very,
extent. Like baseball is really
Yep.
bad to watch on TV. Like it's awful, and I don't
Yep.
care who disagrees. It's
I
it's
agree.
it's really bad. It's very slow. It's boring. Whatever. It takes 18 hours to fucking play a game,
Yeah.
and that's what
It's something
Hearthstone
that you
kind of
go
feels
to.
like.
Hearthstone
Yeah,
is very
yeah.
slow. It's very strategical. It's like chess, and that's fine, but it is not interesting to watch. It's interesting to
Right.
play to an extent. Like I play Magic the Gathering, so I mean, obviously, on some level, it appeals to me. Except that I hate sitting there with like a faceless thing and just clicking buttons and dropping cards. If I'm playing, Magic the Gathering, I'm at a tournament or I'm at a friend's place playing with some
You
friends.
get like those crazy eyes, and you're just like, boom, bitch, and just like walk out.
Yeah, and I can't
You
do
look
that
like
in a
the
Hearth.
intense type. Like you
Ever
look kind
flip
of
over any
intense right now. You
tables?
leaned into the
And I
mic and
can't
stuff.
do that in a Hearthstone game, and it makes me sad. And like I said, I think Heroes of the Storm feels very lethargic.
Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't see a whole lot of Overwatch, and we won't know until a little later how slow it feels. Arenas in WoW can be pretty intense, but I still feel like again they're pretty slow. And StarCraft 2 is not at all like that. It is a very fast pace. Everything is happening all at once, and you really have to have a mind to be able to click through all this and understand what is going on in literally seconds.
Right.
You have to be able to tab to your Nexus. Okay, what do I do with my Nexus? Okay, nothing. That's good. What do I do with this guy? What do I do with that guy? Where does this guy need to be? What's that need to be? Like the APMs for these are nuts. They usually sometimes they'll put an APM counter on the screen to show you how quickly these players are clicking through their buttons. It is nuts.
It's silly, and the last thing I'll say on this is that it was very educational because they have kind of the commentator's view of things, and they're able to walk you through, and you see things happening, and you're like, wow, this is pretty fast, this is engaging. And then they switch to like the actual POV, like the point of view of the player. Shit's silly.
Like their map is
It's
changing
just,
everywhere.
yeah, it's just
It's
everywhere,
nuts.
and it's just like it just makes me feel really old. The other thing that made me feel old is WoW's new expansion.
Oh God,
because this is like the fucking what is this, 5th or 6th?
6 got
I don't know.
TMC, Wrath Lich King, Cataclysm. Wait, is there one missing there? No, Cataclysm, Pandaria.
So this
This
is
one,
fifth.
so 5.
Yeah. I still remember like it was yesterday, the first one, and they ran into some troubles, uncharacteristic troubles. Usually
Yes.
Blizzard kind of has their launch day game somewhat together,
yeah.
at least in recent expansions. I know like the Vanilla WoW was terrible.
Right.
That was unprecedented though, almost. Like WoW's launch was
Well,
unlike what anyone had seen at that point.
It turned out though that there was DDoS attacks involved,
Yep.
Yes.
making everything very unstable. They did seem to clear that out pretty fast though,
It did.
which I would expect from them. I mean, they're a big company.
Yep.
Staying up all night on launch night, pretty much.
Oh
A
yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
people
I
do
feel
do that. Yeah.
I feel for all those teams and like the operations guys. I mean,
That's rough.
you're not sleeping. They
You're
might
not.
have got some sleep today.
Maybe. But I definitely know
Maybe.
that when big patches like this or big expansions like this, Blizzard is literally all hands on deck.
Yeah.
Expect to be here for at least 48 hours while we get things sorted. And it's really unfortunate that this DDoSing tactic has become so popular.
And surprisingly still effective. Like,
And
it's
very
been
effective.
years.
It's not something
Well, there's
that
nothing-
is easy
I mean,
to
there's-
deal
you can
with.
do,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's steps you can take, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you have a public-facing service, you're going to be susceptible to this stuff to a degree.
Yep.
All you can really do is play a shell game and kind of move around stuff and make it not as effective at bringing down your services. But you're always going to be vulnerable to it. I don't really fault anybody for that. I mean, that's just, it
I
kind
do
of goes
fault-
with the territory at this point.
There is some element of faulting Blizzard in some regard, though, not specifically to the DDoSing, but to the way in which a couple years ago Blizzard introduced the idea of instancing. So, like, if you're in a place or in
All
a
the phasing,
certain phasing. If you're in a certain part of the quest line, you will see other people in that are also in that spot of the quest line, but you won't see anyone outside of that. and that results in individuals having like these specific, how do I explain it? Like it's its own thing on a list of like on your task manager. It's like its own thing. Like it has to open up its own window for like your individual phasing, almost. Like it's kind of hard to explain. So they kind
about
of
a process.
That thing. Thank you.
Okay.
Words are very hard.
I was trying to figure out what you were
saying.
saying.
I was following.
I think like she kind of understood where I was going with it. He's like, I think I know what she means. So I mean, they kind of hurt themselves in that regard because especially in this expansion, there's a lot of phasing, especially early on in leveling, and it was the same thing with Pandaria, and the same thing with Cataclysm.
Well, there's actually more phasing in this expansion than there ever has been in the entirety of WoW combined, simply through the fact of the garrisons, because every garrison is its own instance, and it's just for one person.
Yep, and that causes them more issues too, because now you've got people are disconnecting because of these garrisons, and then they have to try and log back in with server disconnects and lower pop server, like they've had to lower the population count of these servers to deal with.
Yeah, I play on a low pop server, and I saw a queue
wow.
Saturday, I think. It was only like a couple hundred, like it went by in like maybe 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fucking low pop server.
Yep.
There shouldn't be a queue. Like
no, there should not.
There's not that many people on. Like it's not like the server's not packed or anything. It's just, yeah. I mean, they obviously had to adjust and compensate for game design and what they want to do and stuff. I mean, it's a back and forth typically between kind of the more back end infrastructure teams and the actual game design teams, because you can have a great idea like, wow, I think that half of Ironforge, all those little buildings in there, those should all be individual instances for everybody, and you should be able to be a landlord. That sounds great to me. And then you have your back end guys that are like, no.
Nope, I hate you.
Don't do that to us.
Please go jump off a bridge. Thank you.
No. Either design new code to handle that.
Yep. Or get out of my office or my server room and just
or
go.
just don't do that ever.
Yeah,
please.
Just get out.
So that's a constant back and forth. I mean, I think the garrisons are a great addition. I really like them.
I think it's an interesting concept.
But
with everyone trying to do it and everyone resubbing, because everyone knows that when WoW expansion comes out, everyone comes out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
So
I don't know about the longevity of it. I mean, I got a character up to 98 this weekend, and
I haven't played yet.
I really like it. I like almost everything about the expansion. I mean, it's a solid expansion. It's probably the best in a while.
Yep.
I don't know. It depends on your views of like Burning Crusade versus Wrath of Lich King, which people debate, I guess.
All endlessly. I think they were both good expansions in their own right. I think Cataclysm was meh. I think Pandaria was even more meh.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying that Warlords of Draenor is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's like whichever one you really liked, Burning Crusade or Wrath of Lich King, it's that again. Like it has that same kind of feel to it. It's very compelling. I want to keep playing. I want to play right now. If I wasn't streaming the show, I might be playing it right now.
Maybe you're playing it right now. I kind of think that you are. You're not really giving us 100%.
I'll just.
Wow.
Just close this.
Logging out.
It's okay. He was playing. What was he playing last podcast?
You were playing Europa Universalis.
Yeah. So
get
out.
Get out.
I'm getting out.
No, don't get out.
Don't actually leave. Please don't actually leave.
I think that pretty much takes us through all the news. I mean, we have some Arcade stuff to get to.
Just follow up from last week, which I forgot because I'm an asshole.
It's okay. This is a good point to talk about Arcade, actually. Compare their launch to WoW's launch of Draenor.
Very similar, shockingly.
Except that WoW's like basically fixed and playable.
Except that WoW has fixed it, and the only way to fix it in Arcade was to pay for it, even though it was supposed to be a free-to-play game. But that's a very
7 more emergency servers.
Yeah, I mean that's an older issue.
Can I just say that actually cracked me up when Tryon was like, we ordered 7 new servers. Here's pictures of us putting them in.
Yeah.
Posing in
Congratulations. Like, that's the thing is I didn't agree with the buying new servers. What I really wanted them to do was increase the amount of people that could be on the servers that already existed.
That's what you need new servers for. You need
Okay.
You need more memory and processing power. Presumably, obviously, I don't know the
But
specifics of this game.
They did add, like, when they said we got 7 new servers, what they meant was we actually.
Oh, they actually made 7 new shards. That's dumb.
They actually made new servers.
Maybe it made sense for them from a technical perspective. We don't know. Like, there's always that grain of salt that you have to take. You don't really know the specific IT requirements of a company organization. I do tend to give people the benefit of the doubt most of the time. Having been on this side of it, it fucking sucks.
It does.
Don't shake your head.
I'm not shaking my. Oh, he is. Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, if you want to talk about arcade shortly, and then we'll take our break.
Do you want me to talk about it now, or you want to wait?
And go into overtime. It's up to you. You want it to be in the YouTube show?
Okay. Well, I want the one thing, the sieging.
Okay. Do the one thing.
So last week we talked about eggs turning into castles. And someone
which was tremendous and really great watching material. If
I thought I hallucinated that.
So
eggs make dragons, but not in this game.
Okay. Well, maybe in this game later.
Oh, don't fucking confuse it. God damn it.
No, I'm just fucking with them. So last week I mentioned that with the launch of Aurora, guilds had to go out and get these eggs from these mobs in this one cave, and it was only this one cave that you could get it from, so everyone and their brother is in this cave trying to fight over mobs to get this egg, which turns into a pack on your back, which slows you down.
Okay, I recall all this.
Blah, blah, blah. People kill you, they can steal it, blah, 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 blah.
Let's move on, yeah.
So coming up, I think it's either this Wednesday or next Wednesday. I'm not 100% sure because Treon is very bad at, like, we were going to do it this week. No, I lied. We're doing it next week. Or we're doing it in 3 weeks. I lied. We're totally doing it today. So it's either this Wednesday or next Wednesday. Sieging these castles becomes a thing. So what happens is a token goes on the auction. A token goes on the auction house, which gives you it goes on the auction house. This is totally fucked up.
What do you mean goes on? Like it's up for
Treon places this token on the auction house, which people can bid on to get control of the ability to siege a specific castle in a specific area.
Oh, okay. Jesus.
I'm following.
And so this can happen once every 3 weeks.
How long is the auction itself?
I think it's 48 hours.
Okay.
I think.
So you've got 2 days
48 hours
to throw as much imaginary bullshit at this token to get it to have the right to
siege a castle.
To siege a castle. Fucking got
so
it. Great. This is going better.
Sounds like a perfect system so far. Go on.
So so you win this, you win the bid on this token, right? And I think it's within 48 hours of receiving the token that you are allowed to declare that you are sieging a castle. When you declare that you are sieging, a countdown begins. You have 30 minutes to gather your forces, and they have 30 minutes to gather theirs. Yes. You are limited to 70...
I was holding it together, man.
Yeah, it's really bad. You are allowed to have 70 guildmates and 30 mercenaries per side. Max. So you can have 100 people per side.
So it's not like they actually gate how many people can zone in? Zone into the area?
I believe so. Yes. There was an element of this available in the beta, which I unfortunately did not get the chance to play enough of to experience this part, which makes me really sad.
It sounds like you'd have to play it for like fucking 2 years to understand why.
This is an extremely arbitrary system.
I will say though, we say this is arbitrary and complicated and shit. Try learning Sov if you fucking haven't already.
This is
that's what this reminded me the most of.
Yeah, this does sound a lot like Sov, except for the limiting of.
You get the opportunity, you get the privilege, I should say,
of attempting
to siege and take out this castle.
Okay.
Tokens for specific areas come up every 3 weeks.
Wait.
So once every.
So how many areas are there?
So once every 3 weeks, one castle is going to be attacked?
No. Hold on. So there's 4 areas. The tokens are grouped into 2s. Heedmar and Nuimara are grouped into one token,
Great.
and then Markala and the Calmlands are grouped into another token.
Okay.
So you win the token, you get to choose where you're going to siege, and you get to go siege. The Heedmar/Nuimara token will not be available again for 3 weeks. However, the week immediately preceding that, the Markala Calmlands token is going to come up.
So that's 3 weeks, but 2 regions essentially, 2 tokens that alternate. So there's like a dead week?
Yes.
Every 2 weeks there's a fucking week where nothing happens.
And then here's the fun thing, is that people who own castles, I think they make 1,000 gold a week, if not more. So they have...
Is that a lot?
Yes, that's a metric fuck ton of gold. And they also make money on... I wish I had a whiteboard that I could write it on for you, lad.
I'll do it right the fuck now. Right after the break, it'll be up there.
Yeah.
So, what was I saying? Shit. Totally just derailed my train of thought. Sorry.
Refer to your notes.
No, I forgot the spot where I was.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So there's a dead week. So there's 2 tokens, they rotate, there's a dead week.
So castle owners make about 1,000 gold a week, just for pretty much owning the castle. And then they also have the opportunity, like they tax people on their land and stuff and make money through that, blah, 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 blah. And then they can also call on their allies to help them throw money at this token. And so I feel like in a lot of cases, the defenders have a huge advantage in this regard. And attackers, I mean, I understand the idea of obviously the defender should have an advantage kind of thing, because
it shouldn't be too easy to take away what they've built.
It shouldn't be.
Right.
Yes, it takes a long time. It's a hard thing to do. It costs money to build. It costs resources to build, stuff like that. But it's so you get a huge advantage for being a defender. And then someone designed their castle so that the siege equipment, which you have to build separately, you don't get it with the token. You have to buy it separately and build it on your own. If you decide you want to siege a castle, you don't get it.
And bring it with you into the thing, or do you have to build it in there?
I think you have to bring it, and then you have to bring it with you.
That's fine. That's the least complicated aspect of this fucking thing.
Okay. I actually misunderstood. 2 tokens come up at the same time, 1 for each zone.
Okay, now you're backtracking and shit. So let's
get to the siege equipment.
Let's wrap this up in a nice little package. Let's put a little bow on top of it that says
Egg Castle Siege.
Eggs equal castles, tokens equal siege.
Yes.
This game is dumb. And then we'll just
this
put
game
that
is about as complicated as Eve is/was, and it needs to be fixed.
Except not as cool, because you can only have 200 people in a fight.
Yeah.
For one of
I'm
these
okay with
castles.
it. I'm okay with it, honestly.
That's just not cool.
If I had to deal with tie-dye in Arcade and in Eve, I'd shoot myself.
Fair.
I don't know that's a thing that should be said on this channel.
I just mean that, I don't mean that tie-dye is the worst thing in the world. It kind of sucks.
No, not about the tie-dye. I don't give a fuck about the tie-dye. The other part of that phrase. Oh,
you mean the shooting myself in the face?
Mind.
People will encourage me to do it? Is that the problem?
Thanks for enunciating the concern very specifically. Appreciate that.
That's fine.
I think on that note, we're going to hit some wrap-up stuff. Or I'm going to hit some wrap-up stuff real quick. Now that everybody is clear that eggs equal castles, tokens equal sieges, and Arcade is fucking Arcade.
Incomprehensible garbage.
That's... Wow. Incomprehensible garbage. Or it could be that.
I'm just saying. Just my 2 cents on this podcast.
So I did want to wrap up a couple things. As you may have noticed, it is Monday, and the show is on.
Dun dun dun.
What the hell, right? So we had the idea. Originally, this show was on Saturdays. Then we moved it to Friday so that Alikchi could have a life on Saturday nights and go do all the rip-roaring things he can do. What is... Oh, God, is that the crap you were tweeting earlier?
Yes. It's God's gift to beverage drinkers everywhere. A Bud Light Lime Raspberita. The most disgusting thing I've ever drank. And it's the party lifestyle that we're moving to on Monday. Yeah.
So we moved to Friday to accommodate Alikchi. Also to, weekends are nice to have, not interrupted by a show. Not that Nystrik would know that because
Unless you're me, because
yeah.
I do Matani's Meta Show on Saturdays.
we're getting there.
Okay.
Horn tooting.
Fuck down. So we moved to Monday on the advice of a good friend of ours in the gaming industry who said that Fridays are basically a dog shit day to try and do a show. Turns out he's right. Mondays are much better, so now we get Fridays and Saturdays off to ourselves, unless you're Nystrik, because Nystrik is now the co-host of the Matani's new show, which is tremendously great. There's a
I had a lot
dog.
of fun with it.
There's a dog too on the show apparently.
Ooh.
It's called The
Name
Meta
dropper.
Show with the Matani. And you get to see his little shit on his face.
And hear him say white instead of white, which I noticed when I was
White.
listening back and editing
That's
that
true,
he
he does say
legit
that.
says white instead of white. I was like,
He's very.
I don't care for that guy.
He's very. God.
also things we should be saying on this stream.
No, that's perfectly acceptable.
Oh, okay.
Um,
okay.
So yeah, so the current lineup now is this. Mondays, this show, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific now.
10 p.m. EST. I don't know what time that is Eve time for you nerds who care enough about Eve time.
Tuesday, now Wednesdays as well, and Thursdays are going to be Laz days, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Fridays, I think me and Alikchi might do something. We were talking about it earlier. We're figuring it out. We're probably going to do something fun on Fridays.
I feel left out.
Yes.
You're welcome to come if you like.
Mhm.
It involves a
There may be
spaceship game, though,
standings
that you
issues.
don't play. So,
Yeah.
I don't.
so we'll probably be doing something on Fridays. Saturdays is the Meta Show with the Matani at like 1 p.m. Pacific, I think it was.
Yep. 1 p.m.
4 p.m.
Pacific.
Eastern. And then Sundays, and if you're a subscriber to the channel, you'll be getting an email this week with details about this. But on Sundays, it's going to be Sub Day Sunday. So Laz or one of us other guys or multiple people, who knows?
Somebody.
It's going to be crazy.
Whoa.
Whoa!
Thank you.
Wow.
It's going to be crazy. It's
I'm
Sub Day
sold.
Sunday. Subscribers will get to dictate what games we play, and if we are playing Eve, what ships we fly and kind of what we do in these games.
Oh, that's exciting.
They'll also have the opportunity to come play games if they're multiplayer games. So like when Evolve comes out, if you want to play with Laz, Darius Johnson, myself, maybe Alikchi, maybe Nystrik,
I will
maybe
definitely be getting
maybe
Evolve
even
when
the
it comes
Matani. Who knows?
Dun dun dun.
If you want to play games with us, that would be your opportunity to do so. It's open to subs. I believe Sundays are going to be sub-only chat days as well, and we will be doing sub-only giveaways. So if that's not enough incentive for you to help support the site, I don't know why you're here.
Get out of here. Get the hell out.
Don't actually leave,
We don't
please.
want you.
Thanks.
Don't actually
Shut up,
leave.
Alikchi.
Alikchi does not speak for the website.
Alikchi does not express the views and concerns of the Matani as a whole.
That's correct.
Disclaimer.
So the point of this is we are slowly growing our Twitch schedule into something that offers entertainment every day. We'll probably further expand on this. We'll do more gameplay streams. We just have to figure out scheduling concerns and that kind of thing. But we're taking baby steps, but we're getting there. The goal is every day of the week you will have something to watch on this channel. So if you haven't already, follow the channel. That's the only way you'll know that these things are happening unless you're subject to my broadcasts in Jabber. Subscribe.
Or Matani
Yeah.
broadcasts.
Yeah, I guess he does. He does lift a finger every once in a while.
Sometimes.
I think it might be mostly accidental. Subscribe to the channel if you want to support us and if you want to participate in Sub Day Sundays. If you're already a subscriber, an email will be going out later this week with more details. For now, I think that's about it for the show, but stay tuned. We're going to take a short break. We're going to wrap up the show. We're going to be back for overtime. Maybe we'll even talk more about Arcage because it sounds like a really great game.
Yes.
But I want to thank everybody for watching. If you're watching live in the chat, hang out for a second. We'll be right back after this short break.